Discovered. A humble employee brings her daughter to work. The Millionaire'S amazing gesture changes everything. The smell of bacon and fresh coffee filled the air as the Maplewood diner buzzed with life. Sarah, a devoted single mother, put on her apron with a familiar sigh. Today was supposed to be just another day, but it became something different when Mia's usual babysitter canceled last minute, forcing Sarah to bring her spirited 10-year-old daughter to work. The diner, filled with regulars who often found pleasure in gossiping about each other, felt different with Mia's laughter echoing through its walls. "Mom, look at that." Mia pointed at the neon sign flickering above the counter, her eyes sparkling with wonder. For a brief moment, Sarah felt a sense of relief. Just let her explore, she thought. I'll handle the tables. With each customer she served, Sarah could feel the judgmental stares of her neighbors, but she steadied her nerves and poured smiles into the food she served. As Mia dashed between booths, asking patrons about their meals, she unwittingly stole the show. Little did Sarah know, Mr. Thompson, the town's elusive millionaire, had just walked in, clad in a well-fitted suit. He was an unusual sight in this greasy spoon diner. When he heard Mia giggling, he turned, his gray eyes lighting up as he observed her innocent joy. "Why, hello there." He smiled, leaning down to Mia's level. She beamed up at him, unencumbered by the weight of societal divides. Sarah glanced over, feeling a flutter of apprehension. What would the townsfolk think? Before she could express concern, Mr. Thompson engaged Mia in conversation. Sarah's heart warmed as she listened to her daughter's animated voice, recounting tales of imaginary lands and princesses. Here was a man standing before her, treating her child with respect, something many of the local adults could learn. As they talked, Sarah felt a flicker of hope ignite inside her. Could this man help her escape the grind? Or was it just wishful thinking? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But as whispers about the millionaire in their midst began to spread through the diner, Sarah felt tensions rise. Other customers shifted uncomfortably in their seats, eyes darting between her and Mr. Thompson, the air thick with judgment. Sarah's heart pounded. Was it worth the chance of alienation for a moment of kindness? Just as she wrestled with this internal conflict, disaster struck. A kitchen fryer, left unattended, ignited into flames, sending smoke swirling through the diner. Panic erupted. Customers rushed for the exits. But Sarah's focus was singular. "Mia. Mia, get back here," she yelled, the storm of fear and adrenaline propelling her forward. In a chaotic sea of movement, it was Mr. Thompson who stepped up. His commands cut through the din. He organized the frightened patrons and even grabbed a fire extinguisher. In that moment, surrounded by chaos, Sarah saw the truth. It was not wealth that defined someone's character, but action in the face of hardship. As the fire was put out and the customers rushed to safety, she felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe acceptance was possible, even in a town quick to judge. But would she have the strength to stand against the whispers and forge a bond that could change everything? The diner was in disarray. Tables were overturned, chairs scattered, and the pungent smell of smoke clung to the air. Sarah's heart raced, but she felt a rush of gratitude towards Mr. Thompson, who stood beside her, his calm demeanor like an anchor in the storm. "Mia," she shouted again, pushing past frightened patrons. "Where are you?" Panic gripped her throat as she scanned the room. Just then she spotted Mia curled up in a booth, wide-eyed and trembling. "Mom!" Mia cried out as Sarah rushed over, taking her daughter into her arms. Relief washed over her like a cool breeze on a hot day. "I thought I lost you." "Never. I'm right here," Sarah whispered, holding her tightly. With a shared glance at Mr. Thompson, Sarah felt an unspoken connection form. He gave her a reassuring nod as he directed patrons to exit calmly. His presence, so powerful yet gentle, was a beacon in the chaos. "Let us try to help clean up," he suggested once the last of the customers filed out. "We can't let this place go down in flames, not on a day like today." The air carried an odd mix of panic and purpose. Sarah joined him behind the counter, exchanging quick glances filled with unarticulated gratitude. Together they worked side by side, as the haze of smoke began to clear. Within moments the diner began to feel more like home again. Mia, now held firmly by Sarah's side, offered to help too, carrying napkins and refilling coffee cups, her small hands clumsy but eager. "Good job, kiddo," Mr. Thompson praised, a genuine smile lighting up his face. He knelt down to her level, once more engaging her with kindness. "You're braver than a lot of adults I know." Mia smiled, her fear fading beneath the glow of his encouragement. It touched Sarah deeply, and her heart swelled with appreciation. The diner began to fill with laughter again, the regulars returning as the commotion died down. But the comforting hum of the diner wasn't enough to silence the whispers that had crept back. Sarah could hear them, fragmentary words pinching her nerves. "That millionaire," one patron whispered, "why's he talking to her?" The judgment felt like knives wound around her heart. It was a weight that dragged her down, the reality of who she was crashing against, the hope growing within her from the kindness she had witnessed. "Hey," Mr. Thompson said, sensing her tension. "Ignore them. People talk. It's what they do." "But, no," he interrupted, his voice firm yet soft. "You can't afford to let their opinions dictate your worth. You're doing a great job here. And the love you show for Mia? That's what truly matters." Sarah's breath caught. She had always believed that her struggles defined her. But here was this man, a millionaire with the world at his feet, reminding her of the strength she held. The fire wasn't just a blaze. It was a spark igniting something inside her, pushing her toward change. As the diner buzzed to life, Sarah gathered her thoughts, feeling emboldened. "Maybe I do deserve more," she said softly, more to herself than anyone else. But the spark was there, and she could feel it. With a renewed sense of purpose, Sarah turned to Mr. Thompson. "Can we talk?" He raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "About what?" "About something important," she said, her heart racing at the thought of taking a step toward what felt impossible. Would he understand? Could he help her change their lives forever? And as she held Mia's hand tightly, she knew this conversation could lead to something transformative. All she needed was a chance. What would Mr. Thompson say? Would he be open to helping her? Would this spark lead to a flame strong enough to change their future? Mr. Thompson studied Sarah for a moment, the weight of her gaze intense and searching. He clearly saw something flicker to life within her, a determination that had been buried beneath layers of doubt and despair. "All right, let us find a quiet spot," he said, motioning toward a corner booth far from the chatter of the returning patrons. As they settled into the booth, Sarah felt 1,000 thoughts swirling in her head. The diner was slowly coming back to life, the familiar sounds of clinking silverware and warm laughter wrapping around her like a comforting blanket. But here in this quiet corner she felt utterly exposed. "Okay, what's on your mind?" Mr. Thompson asked, his voice steady and encouraging. Taking a deep breath, Sarah glanced at Mia, who was eagerly drawing with crayons on a napkin. The simple joy of her daughter felt grounding, but the words loomed heavy on Sarah's lips. "I want more for us," she finally said, her heart pounding. "I know there's a world beyond this diner, beyond just surviving from paycheck to paycheck." Mr. Thompson leaned in, his expression one of curiosity and genuine interest. "What do you envision?" "I want Mia to have opportunities, to dream big," she said, passion burning in her voice. "But I don't know how. I've never had guidance. I've always been stuck here," and her voice wavered, the weight of reality crashing back in. "I don't have a plan. Sometimes a plan isn't what you need. Sometimes you just need to take that first step," he encouraged, his words wrapping around her like a hand on her shoulder. "I'm scared," she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. "Scared isn't a bad thing. It means you care. It means you want something better. And I want to help you find it," he said, a soft intensity in his eyes that made Sarah feel a flicker of hope. "But what if I fail?" she asked, vulnerability prickling at her heart. "What if you fly?" he replied, a hint of a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. His words sparked something inside her. There was a possibility, a chance that maybe she could learn to soar. The thought was exhilarating yet terrifying. "How do I even start?" "Let us begin with what you're passionate about. You mentioned wanting more. What does that look like to you?" I think I want to help others. I want to create something that inspires people, a safe space where everyone feels welcomed, she said, the idea rolling out like a tide. His eyes lit up. That's a beautiful dream. And not impossible. What if we brainstorm some ideas together? Nervous energy buzzed through her as Mr. Thompson leaned closer, engaging her with enthusiasm. Imagine starting a community center. You could offer programs, classes. As he spoke, Sarah felt the darkness lift, the chatter of her insecurities fading into the background. However, doubt still nibbled at the edges of her excitement. But I don't have the resources. Money isn't something I can just conjure. I can connect you with people who might help, sponsors, grants. But it starts with you believing in this dream, he said. His sincerity steady and assuring. Sarah felt a warmth spread through her, like the first rays of sunshine after a long winter. Okay, I'll try, she said, her voice stronger now. Good. We'll figure it out together. Just as she felt a wave of relief wash over her, a sudden crash echoed from the kitchen, a metal pot falling against the tile. The moment shattered, and Sarah felt anxiety flicker back. With Mia looking up, wide-eyed and concerned, Sarah couldn't shake the thought. What if this was all too much? As tensions rose in the background, she looked back at Mr. Thompson. You really think this is possible? And in the depths of their eyes, where dreams met reality, Sarah could sense a shared belief, the kindling of a new beginning. But as the chatter resumed, another whisper reached her ears. What if she gets in over her head? The self-doubt bubbled within her. Could she really do this? Just then, Mr. Thompson's voice cut through her thoughts. Sometimes the hardest choice leads to the best destinations. With that, a stirring tension filled the air, one she prayed would lead to a powerful transformation. What if this was more than just a dream? What if it was a path to a life they'd always wanted? All she needed was to let go of fear. But how? The answers lay just ahead, and she could feel the excitement pulsing through her. Was she ready to step into the unknown? The question hung in the air, charged with possibility. Sarah's heart raced as she stared at Mr. Thompson. Could she really venture beyond the confines of her life? The kitchen noise subsided momentarily, and she caught Mia's gaze. The little girl was still drawing, her innocent focus radiating a kind of light that illuminated Sarah's fears. In that moment she realized Mia was watching her, looking for assurance. She had to be brave, not just for herself but for her daughter. "Okay," Sarah said, her voice firmer now. "Let us brainstorm. What can I do? Where do I start?" A smile spread across Mr. Thompson's face. That's the spirit. First, let us identify your strengths. You mentioned wanting to create a safe space. What skills do you have that could help make that happen? She thought for a moment, her mind racing. Well, I'm good at listening. People seem to trust me, and I can organize things if I put my mind to it. Great. Listening is a superpower. You can form connections and understand what your community needs. An organization? Essential for any venture, he said, nodding encouragingly. What if you started small? Maybe a weekend gathering at a local park? Invite people. Just like that? She asked, a tinge of skepticism slipping back in. Why not? You'll never know how much people want to connect until you give them that chance. Plus, it doesn't need to be big or overwhelming. Just a few friendly faces and open hearts. The embers of excitement began to spark again within her. I could bring snacks and toys for the kids, that's the spirit. And you can share your story too. When people see your passion, it encourages them to join in. Mr. Thompson leaned back, his hands clasped together, clearly excited about the idea. The more they talked, the clearer her vision became. She could almost see it, the laughter of children playing, neighbors swapping stories, a sense of belonging that had long eluded her. But then another wave of doubt crashed over her. This all sounds wonderful, but what if no one shows up? Then you make it a gathering for you and Mia. One step at a time, he reminded her, his tone soothing her anxiety. Every big change starts with small actions. You're not alone in this. An idea sparked, and her fingers drummed nervously against the table. What about a theme? Maybe something about community? I could create flyers. Maybe a Facebook event. Exactly. See, you have ideas already. He grinned, and for the first time, Sarah felt a flicker of excitement burst through the shadows of her mind. But in the midst of her hopeful thoughts, another doubt crept back. But if something goes wrong, her voice trailed off, unease tightening her chest. Sarah, listen. Fear is part of the journey. It's okay to stumble. It's how we learn to stand tall. Embrace it. And remember, I'll help every step of the way. Sarah glanced at Mia, a quiet determination swelling within her. She wanted this for them. "'Kay, I'm in. I'll do this," she declared, a sense of warmth flooding through her. Mr. Thompson's eyes sparked with approval. "That's the spirit. We're going to make something beautiful together." As the conversation continued, Sarah hardly noticed the time slipping away. Inspiration filled the air like steam rising from a fresh cup of coffee, and their laughter mingled with the soft sounds of the diner. But just as hope surged in her heart, the clatter of dishes shattered the moment again, pulling her back into reality. Would she really be able to face this challenge? Just then, the bell above the diner door jingled, and Sarah turned her head instinctively. A stranger walked in and paused, eyes scanning the room. For a brief moment it felt like fate itself had stepped through that door. Was this person meant to be part of her journey? The idea danced tantalizingly close, but just out of reach, leaving Sarah breathless with anticipation. The stranger stepped inside, shaking off the cold from outside, and Sarah's breath hitched. She was tall with warm brown hair cascading in waves, and her eyes sparkled like gems, immediately catching Sarah's attention. There was something familiar about her, like a long-lost friend. Yet Sarah couldn't place it. "Excuse me," the woman said, her voice smooth and inviting as she approached the counter. "Do you happen to know if—" But before she could finish, Mr. Thompson had taken a step forward, welcoming her with that easy charm that made him a favorite around the diner. As the two continued to talk, Sarah felt a pull. The woman seemed to radiate confidence and strength, a stark contrast to the swirling doubts in Sarah's mind. Suddenly Mia, having finished another drawing, piped up, raising her hand excitedly. "Hi, what's your name?" she chirped, her eyes wide with curiosity. The woman turned and smiled brightly at Mia. "I'm Clara. Nice to meet you. And what's your name, little artist?" "Mia," she exclaimed, barely able to contain her joy at the woman's attention. Clara knelt down, holding Mia's gaze. "Wow, that drawing looks amazing. You must be really creative. What's it about?" Sarah watched as her daughter animatedly explained her art, and she felt a wave of warmth. It was as if the burden of uncertainty had lightened just for a moment. Clara listened, nodding appreciatively, engaging with Mia in a way that made Sarah ache for connection, for community. Mr. Thompson watched the exchange with a knowing smile. "Clara is new to town. I think she might just be looking for some friendly faces, wouldn't you say, Sarah?" Clara's gaze shifted to Sarah, and for a heartbeat, the chaotic noise of the diner faded away. "I am," Clara confessed, her voice softening. "I just moved here for a job. It's all a bit overwhelming." Sarah felt a spark of understanding. "I get that," she started, the words spilling out before caution could stop them. "It's hard to settle in. Would you like to join us for a coffee? We were just talking about getting to know the community better." It was a spontaneous invitation, but the words felt good. Inviting someone into her life, building bridges instead of walls. Clara's face brightened like a light had flicked on. "I would love that, thank you." As they sat together, Clara shared her story about her new career in town, her hopes and her own challenges of finding her place. Every word poured into Sarah, filling her with a sense of kinship that had been missing for far too long. They laughed together about the strange quirks of their new environment and shared ideas for connecting with neighbors. But amidst the laughter, the familiar pulse of fear returned. What if this connection was fleeting? What if it all fell apart just like other moments in her life? She tried to shake the thoughts away, reminding herself of Mr. Thompson's words. Late that evening, as they finally prepared to leave, Mia's tiny voice broke through Sarah's internal storm. "Can we invite Clara to our park party?" Her eyes sparkled with innocent hope. Sarah glanced at Clara, who looked equally taken aback and touched. "Of course. I'd love to come," Clara replied, her smile warm and genuine. Sarah felt her heart swell again. Recognizing the strength that comes through connection, it felt as if she was stepping into a new adventure. But what would tomorrow bring? Would the gathering truly strengthen their budding community? Or would doubts creep back in to shatter her dreams once more? With the possibility of change lingering in the air, Sarah could only wonder, was this the beginning of something beautiful, or just another fleeting moment? The next morning brought with it a crispness that seeped through the curtains and nudged Sarah awake. She blinked, still cocooned in her blankets, the excitement from the previous night flickering in her mind. The idea of the park party had taken root, and with it, a swirl of anticipation and fear. "Mama, can we make cupcakes?" Mia's voice rang through the house, as bright as the morning sun spilling through the kitchen windows. "Cupcakes, huh?" Sarah chuckled, rising from bed and stretching her limbs. "I think that's a brilliant idea." They set to work, flour dusting the countertops like fresh snow. Mia giggled as she poured in the ingredients, her little hands precise with even the most delicate tasks. Their laughter echoed around the kitchen, and for a moment, Sarah's worries slipped away. Here in the warmth of their home, everything felt right as the cupcakes baked. The scent wafting through the air combined with the sound of Mia humming a cheerful song. Sarah couldn't help but smile, but soon that nagging doubt crept back. What if no one came to the park? What if Clara didn't feel comfortable joining them? "Mom, do you think Clara will like the cupcakes?" Mia asked, her sweet voice cutting through Sarah's anxious thoughts. "Of course she will. Everyone loves cupcakes," Sarah replied, forcing confidence into her tone, "especially when they're made with love." Mia's smile grew wider, and as they pulled the warm cupcakes from the oven, Sarah arranged them on a colorful plate, hoping the visual cheer would match her daughter's excitement. Once the cupcakes cooled, they decorated them with swirls of frosting. Sarah watched Mia carefully placing sprinkles on top, the way a true artist would. "Can I write a note for Clara?" Mia asked eagerly, her eyes sparking with creativity. "Great idea," Sarah encouraged. They found a piece of cardstock, and while Mia crafted her heartfelt message, Sarah padded into the living room, her heart racing. She wanted today to feel special, to mark the blossoming friendship. This wasn't just about music and cupcakes. It was a step towards building community, towards healing. Just as they were finishing up, a knock sounded at the door. Sarah's heart leaped. Could it be Clara already? Mia dashed to the door, throwing it open, revealing Clara standing on the porch with a bouquet of wildflowers in her hands, her face beaming. "Hi, my new friends," she chirped, looking at both of them. "I thought I'd bring you a little something." "Wow, thank you," Mia exclaimed, reaching out to touch the flowers lightly while Sarah's heart fluttered in her chest. Clara had made an effort, and it felt like an anchor in the uncertainty that gripped Sarah's heart. "I came by to see how I can help with the park party. Do you need more cupcakes?" Clara grinned, her presence a balm to Sarah's worries. Before long, the three of them were creating an assembly line for the picnic prep. Cupcakes were adorned with sprinkles, snacks were neatly packed, and games were organized. There was a tangible shift in the air, a feeling of camaraderie sparking between them as the morning rolled into afternoon. Just as they finished loading everything into Sarah's car, she spotted Mr. Thompson across the street carrying a folding chair and a cooler. "Need any help?" he called, grinning. Sarah's heart swelled with gratitude. It was shaping up to be a beautiful day indeed. But as they drove toward the park, doubts bubbled back up. What if Clara wasn't ready to dive into the community? What if the old feelings of isolation rushed back? With questions swirling in her mind, Sarah took a deep breath. Today held the promise of connection, but would it bring the comfort she longed for, or would she have to face her fears all over again? The park emerged on the horizon, a canvas of green and laughter as families gathered, children chased each other, and music floated in the air. Sarah parked the car, but her hands felt clammy as she turned to Clara and Mia, who were buzzing with excitement. "Ready?" Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Mia nodded vigorously while Clara smiled, a glimmer of confidence in her eyes that made Sarah hope. Together they unloaded the car, laughter spilling out like their precious cupcakes, each a little masterpiece waiting to be savored. Setting up their picnic blanket felt like laying down the first stone of a new foundation. Sarah rolled out the blanket, and Mia plopped down with a thump, chuckling. Clara helped unpack the snacks, and soon the sweet scent of frosting combined with the breezy atmosphere. But as children ran past, Sarah's gaze drifted to the edges of the park. What if the doubts returned in waves? "Mama, can I help with the cupcakes?" Mia asked, her small hands reaching for one of the cupcakes, excitement bubbling within her. "Of course, honey. Just be careful of the sprinkles." Sarah encouraged, feeling the warmth of her daughter's spirit amidst her own swirling fears. As if on cue, they spotted a group of familiar faces approaching, neighbors, old friends. Sarah's heart raced, gratitude mingling with nerves. "Look, it's Mrs. Jenkins and the kids," she whispered. Clara's eyes widened as she spotted the same faces. "Oh, do you think they'll stay?" she asked, biting her lip. "They're here," Sarah replied, her breath shaky but hopeful. "That's a good sign, right?" Mia jumped up, her voice bubbling over. "Cupcakes. We made them. Come try." Her call broke the tension like a sunny day dispelling clouds. The group laughed, and soon, more hands were reaching for the joyful treats, and hands were shaking in greetings. Sarah watched the scene unfold, her heart swelling with pride as Clara began to relax, chatting with Mrs. Jenkins about the flavors Mia and Sarah had created. It felt good, like a healing balm. Laughter rang out when one of the kids incredulously declared he could eat 3 cupcakes in one go. Suddenly, there was a sweet camaraderie forming all around them. "Mom, can we play?" Mia tugged at Sarah's arm, her eyes glimmering with a mix of excitement and happiness. "Go on, sweetie," Sarah urged, feeling a lightness she hadn't expected. Mia dashed off to join the other children, and Sarah took a moment to breathe, to absorb the children's laughter, the sunshine framing the world in gold. Clara wandered to her side, brushing a lock of hair behind her ear. "Isn't this nice?" I didn't think." Sarah turned to her, sensing that there was more. "What didn't you think?" "I didn't think it would feel like this. Like I belong," Clara confessed, her voice soft but steady. There was a vulnerability there, a connection that pulled deeper than mere acquaintanceship. Sarah's heart clenched with understanding. "We all want that, don't we? But sometimes it takes a little push to get there," she said, her voice gaining strength. Just then an unfamiliar face approached, eyes scanning the group with curiosity. Sarah felt a tingle of anxiety. Who was this person? Did they have the same warm intentions that had filled the park with laughter today? "Excuse me," the newcomer said, addressing Sarah directly. "I heard about a community party here. Are you behind it?" Sarah's breath hitched, and Clara glanced sideways at her, silently urging her to respond. This was the moment, the chance for their little gathering to grow, for connections to spiral outward. But would the person's presence shift the atmosphere? A sense of determination surged inside her. "Yes, we are," she replied, hoping it was the right answer as anticipation hung thick in the air. But what Sarah didn't expect was the revelation that was about to turn their sunny park day into something completely different. The stranger's gaze softened, a smile breaking through the uncertainty. "I'm Helen," she introduced herself, extending her hand. "I'm new in town and heard about your gathering. I thought I'd drop by and see what it's all about." Sarah quickly shook her hand, her heart pounding. "Welcome. We're just getting started. It's more of a potluck than a party, really, but we're making it work." As people began to circle around Sarah and Clara, Helen's enthusiasm intensified. "It looks wonderful. I'm a bit out of my comfort zone, but I'd love to join in." Clara crossed her arms, glancing between her mother and the newcomer. "Are you from around here?" she asked boldly. Helen chuckled lightly. "Not yet. Just moved here a couple of weeks ago for work. New beginnings, you know?" Sarah felt a wave of warmth wash over her. Helen's honesty was refreshing. "That's brave. I'm sure it can feel pretty overwhelming." "It is," Helen admitted, and for a moment her eyes drifted away, the weight of her words hanging in the air. "But I'm hoping to meet people, build a community." Sarah nodded, feeling a rush of shared sentiment. "Then you're in the right place. It's easier to connect when we're sharing something." As more neighbors joined the picnic area, laughter and chatter filled the air. Helen carved out a space for herself among the group, and soon enough, the initial hesitation melted away. Sarah noticed Mia laughing as she chased after a group of kids. There was a raw joy on her face that made Sarah's heart swell. Clara engaged in conversation with Helen, the two of them bonding over common interests, while Sarah stepped back, taking a moment to savor the scene. Families were mingling, enjoying the snacks, and the park was infused with life. A soft breeze tousled her hair, and she felt more connected than ever, not just to her daughters but to everyone around her. Just then the energy shifted. A familiar figure in a blue shirt caught Sarah's eye, a man she hadn't seen in years. It was Matt, her old friend from college days. The sight of him surprised her. It felt like a jolt from another life. Sarah. He called out, striding lighter than his years suggested. I didn't know you were around. Matt. Wow, this is unexpected. She met him halfway, the warmth of his presence releasing a flood of memories. What brings you here? He shrugged, a smile broadening his face. Just taking a stroll. I thought I'd grab a coffee from the cafe across the street. And then I saw the commotion, just a little community gathering, Sarah laughed, her pulse quickening with anticipation. As they exchanged small talk, the curiosity bubbled inside Sarah. She hadn't seen him in so long. Was there still something lingering between them? Clara's voice broke into her thoughts, pulling her back. Mom, can we show Helen the playground? Oh sure. Sarah smiled, watching her daughters and their new friends scamper off. Matt leaned closer, his expression shifting to seriousness. You always hosted the best gatherings. This looks amazing, he said, nodding toward the lively atmosphere. Thanks, it's been a learning experience, Sarah admitted, feeling a sudden rush of vulnerability mixed with pride. Just as Helen returned from the playground with excited kids in tow, Sarah caught the sound of laughter resonating beneath the canopy of trees. The day felt charged with possibility. But before she could delve deeper into the moment, a shadow crossed her path. A voice pierced the light-hearted chatter. Hello. I'm looking for Sarah. The tone was authoritative and both Matt and Sarah's smiles faded, curiosity quickly turning to caution. Who could it be? What had they come for? It felt like the calm before an unexpected storm. And just like that, the day's sweetness hung in the balance, others glancing uncertainly at the newcomer. Would this moment disrupt everything they had carefully built together? Sarah felt her heart race as she turned to see who was calling her name. The newcomer stood tall, a security officer by the looks of it. His uniform was crisp, and his expression was serious. It felt like a scene from a drama, one where the protagonist gets ripped from their moment of joy. Can I help you? Sarah managed, her voice steady despite the quiver she felt inside. The officer nodded, his eyes scanning the small gathering. I'm here about a complaint. We've received reports about disturbances in this area. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Sarah felt the eyes of her neighbors darting to and fro, uncertainty creeping in like shadows. Disturbances? She repeated, trying to maintain her composure. It's nothing too serious, he said, holding up a hand. Just some noise complaints. It seems some residents are unhappy with the gathering. Matt stepped forward, a protective glint in his eye. But this is a community event. We're all just here to share food and connect. I understand, the officer replied, his gaze shifting back to Sarah. But I need to ask you to wrap things up. I don't want to cause any trouble, but I have to follow the rules. Sarah felt her stomach sink. This was supposed to be a day of connection, of new friendships being forged, not a potential scuffle with authority. She opened her mouth to respond, but the words escaped her. Helen, sensing the tension, stepped forward. I'm new here, and I can tell how hard everyone has worked to make this happen. Can't we just find a way to keep things peaceful? The officer's shoulders relaxed just a bit. I appreciate your concern, but my hands are tied. I can give you 15 more minutes and then I'll need you to start clearing out. Disappointment washed over Sarah like a cold wave. Just when things were falling into place, here came this disruption. She scanned the faces of her friends and neighbors, seeing a mix of disappointment and embarrassment. Clara returned with Mia and Helen. Their faces lit up with joy from the playground, but the joy faded as they sensed the atmosphere change. What's going on? Clara asked, her brow furrowing. Just a small hiccup, Sarah said, forcing a tight smile. We might have to pack up soon. Mia's face fell. But Mom, we just got here. I was having fun. Helen knelt down to Mia's level, her eyes warm and empathetic. Hey, how about we make the most of our last few minutes? Let us play a game. Sarah felt a wave of gratitude for Helen. Her heart swelled watching her try to lift Mia's spirits. Just when she thought this day was lost, it seemed like Helen understood how to inject life back into the group. As Helen engaged the kids, Sarah turned back to the officer. I didn't intend for this to become a disturbance, she tried to reason, feeling the weight of every gaze upon her. But we've been yearning for connection, especially after everything. Can't we find a way to compromise? The officer's expression softened. I can tell it means a lot to you all. Just keep it down, please. The tension lightened, but the undercurrent of worry remained. Would they be able to keep this day of community alive? Or was it already slipping through their fingers? With renewed urgency, Sarah turned to her friends, energizing the group. Let us make this last 15 minutes count. As laughter and cheers erupted once again, Sarah couldn't help but feel the looming question. Could this gathering survive the shadow of authority? Or was this really just the beginning of more challenges to come? What adventures awaited them as they struggled to define this new community? One that wasn't going to back down easily. The clock ticked down as they all braced themselves for the final 15 minutes, an unexpected countdown to what felt like the beginning of something profound. Sarah quickly rallied everyone, her voice cutting through the chatter with newfound confidence. Let us make a group photo, everyone, she called, and excitement rippled through the crowd. Faces brightened, children giggled, and even the officer seemed intrigued. Sarah felt her heart race as she herded everyone into a circle, hands intertwined. On the count of 3, community, she declared, her spirit buoyed by the shared energy of the moment. As she flashed a smile and the camera snapped, Sarah realized this was more than just a gathering, it was a declaration. A stand against the silence that had suffocated their little town for too long. The sound of laughter erupted, sweet and genuine, drowning out the last whispers of discontent. Matt leaned closer, his smile wide. You see what you're building here? He said. This is gold. Clara nodded, beaming at Sarah, her eyes shining with admiration. It felt like the phoenix rising from the ashes, and with Mia dancing joyfully among the other children, each gleeful smile built a bridge to community and connection. The officer, sensing the shift in atmosphere, relaxed his posture. In those precious minutes, as laughter echoed and old barriers crumbled, he found himself smiling too. Maybe this gathering wasn't just noise. Maybe it was harmony. As the final seconds closed in, Sarah took a deep breath and stepped closer to the officer. Thank you for your understanding. We've all needed this moment. The warmth in her voice thawed the chilly tension that had hung in the air. He nodded, perhaps seeing the potential for something greater. With the countdown over, and the sound of cheers ringing in the air, everyone began to pack up, but not before promising to reconvene. Casual plans were formed through laughter, with Clara leading the way, instantly suggesting their next gathering at the community center Sarah envisioned. Let us keep this going, she exclaimed, her enthusiasm infectious. We can organize more events, create a space we can all feel part of. Sarah felt the embers of her dream igniting, ready to morph into a blaze. Standing next to Mr. Thompson as they watched their little gathering transform into smiles and chatter, Sarah felt her heart swell. Thank you, she said, sincerity etched on her face. For believing in me. I only lit the spark, he replied, his eyes twinkling with encouragement. You carried the flame. As the last few people trickled out of the park, Sarah looked around at the leftover decorations, the empty cupcake wrappers, and the echoes of laughter that danced in the air. And that when she felt it. A vibrant connection that would grow stronger as they planted seeds of friendship and community. Driving home with Mia beside her, Sarah let her heart throb with realization. Everything had changed. She felt emboldened to dream ambitiously for both of them. This had been a turning point not just for herself, but for Mia, for Clara, for their budding community. Mama, can we have more cupcakes next time? Mia asked, her face glowing with possibilities. You bet we will, she replied, her spirit soaring. Next time it will be bigger and even better. As they pulled into their driveway, Sarah turned to her daughter. Do you want to come up with more ideas for our park party? Yes. Let us dream big, Mia shouted, her energy bubbling over. And together they climbed into the light of their cozy home, laughter puncturing the silence as they grabbed crayons and paper. That night, as Sarah watched Mia scribbling down ideas, her heart brimmed with joy, a gratitude that felt layered with resilience. It was the start of their new life, their adventure just beginning. The community had not only gathered, it had woven itself into a tapestry of hope. But tomorrow held yet another promise. Will these connections endure? Will they find the strength to nurture this budding community? Only time would tell, but for the first time Sarah felt the warmth of possibility glow brightly in her heart. She was ready to embrace it all. Don't wait one more second. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this beautiful ending. and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to show your support to keep the magic alive.